playfulness and curiosity.
This new superpower called persuasion.
They're the rules of the world, and then here's the rules for us.
What does rich mean?
Stories and wisdom.
Welcome to the Stories and Wisdom podcast. Today we are talking with Joe Zgurzynski, beekeeper, environmental health professional, and CEO and co-founder of Obi-Wan Technologies. Obi-Wan is a NSF-funded startup using acoustic analytics to help beekeepers understand hive conditions in real time. Joe also runs a Country Barn Farm, a family operation just outside Pittsburgh, where you raise queen bees, produce honey, and then teach beekeeping, and then also grow the community of beekeepers in Pennsylvania. Joe, you sit at the intersection of science, farming, community, technology, and you work through all of those. So welcome to the Stories and Wisdom podcast, Joe.
Thank you, Pradeep. It's great to be here. I was wondering when you're going to get me on this show finally.
So when people ask you what you do these days, where do you start and how do you connect the dots between all of these things?
I know. I usually just say I'm a beekeeper. And then if they're curious, they want to know more about what beekeeping, what beekeepers do, what I do. And I'm always surprised how diverse the activities are of a beekeeper, because I teach classes, I sell equipment, I sell honey, I sell queen bees. Sometimes I do candles and lotion bars and lip balms, and I do talks for schools, farm tours. So there's a lot going on with the beehive. Yesterday, I met with the local nature reserve and discussed where they want to set an observation hive and an apiary and how they want to integrate beekeeping into their program. I've worked with schools on different science projects using the honeybee as a kind of a model for all the million species of insects on the planet. So it's essentially a basic earth science, natural biology type lesson for the classroom. So I do a lot of different things with beekeeping. Beekeeping's got me in the newspaper, on the radio, on the television, on podcasts like this one. So it's taken me a lot farther than I would have expected when I was in college. That's for sure. When I was in college, I always liked science. I always knew I wanted to do something with science, but beekeeping was something that I always knew I'd do, but I never thought I'd do it as a career. It was always something that was kind of on the back burner, but I kind of fell into it. When the kids were little, I had one baby, then two babies, and then the cost of daycare was like $30,000. So I started taking care of the kids. Then we had our third baby, and I said, I got to start using my business degree. We all went to business school together, Pradeep and I, and I started growing the farm business. And here I am.
So let's get into our first section. I think you already jumped into this one. It's called Memoir Moment. So in Memoir Moment, you look back and we talk about the work you're doing now, but then really from the moment where things start to form a shape and then you took it forward and then you started discussing about beekeeping. But largely, even though you do all these things, you're describing what an entrepreneur does. Like it's 15, 20 different things. They are related, but might seem not related, but it's multiple hustles all coming together for an entrepreneur. But now you recently are, shall we call a tech entrepreneur? Like you're getting into software, you're getting into hardware. So talk about the Memoir Moment where all of this came together for you in a context and then where it's taking you now.
It comes to my connection with you and Sridhar. I always wanted to work with Pradeep on a project, and we've been talking about it for years. And we've been talking about this project, Stories and Wisdom, and we've been talking about my beekeeping. And finally, Pradeep was asking what some of the pain points were. And, I sell queen bees. I ship queen bees all over the country. And I spent a lot of time raising queen bees and taking care of queen bees. And to actually sell a queen bee, I've got to find a queen bee in a beehive. And that's surprisingly time consuming. I have to look through the hive, find a queen bee, I mark her, I put her in a cage, I'm on to the next one. If it takes me 20 minutes to find a queen bee, that's a lot of time that I could be spending finding the next queen bee or traveling to the next apiary. So if I can find a queen bee quickly, it makes my job a lot easier. And I'm really motivated to find a queen bee because I can't sell a queen bee if I can't find her. But sometimes I can. Sometimes I'm like, all right, it's been 8, 9, 10, 12 minutes. I'll find her next time. I'll find her in 3 weeks when I come back, and I'm going to go to the next hive. And then I go to the next hive. And I just have to keep working. But if I had a reliable way to find a queen bee, it'd make my job easier and make a lot of beekeepers' jobs easier. I was talking with Sridhar and Pradeep, and then we went through just that first conversation at a restaurant here in Pittsburgh, Kaya, in the Strip District. We came up with some ideas. We talked about RFID chips and different sensors that could be used and ways to monitor the queen bee. And we talked about computer vision and heat sensing. And we came up with a lot of our basic ideas within a span of probably 15, 20 minutes. And then over the next 2 years, extrapolated on those ideas, submitted ideas to the National Science Foundation for funding. And between us kind of iterating within our own group and feedback from the National Science Foundation, we finally came up with a method to use an acoustic lure to kind of bend the biology of the queen bee, where she pipes and makes sounds to communicate with other queen bees that may be in the hive during swarming to locate the queen bee. The idea is she'll seek out that piping sound as a rival and make her easier to find. So that's our current project with the grant. And it's been rewarding to have something a little bit different than the regular nuts and bolts beekeeping that I've done quite a bit of in the last 2 years, and to, of course, work with Pretty on Streeter and a different field. I don't have a background in software or computer science. My background is environmental science. I spent 10 years doing groundwater cleanups and remediations and spill cleanups, and even a little bit of whole occupational hygiene, keeping workplaces safe for workers. So I haven't done this kind of work except on a very peripheral basis. I like learning new things. One of my career goals, when I first went to college, was I always wanted to know how to do a lot of different things. One of the reasons I became a biologist, because it touches a lot of different disciplines and work with a lot of different species, and you get a great understanding of how the world works. And I think that was my main motivation to go to business school. I wanted to know more how the world works. And I was always fascinated by pricing and this idea of money driving everything, like even environmental science is driven by money. My companies don't do cleanups unless they have money to do the cleanups, or unless they're motivated by fines or some kind of incentive, more customers, better customers that motivates them to do environmental work. So financing and pricing really interesting. That's why I went to business school in the first place.
As you're traversing this entrepreneur, starting to embrace technology entrepreneurship, and then now we get into this agile and pricing and going to the process through NSF, how has that, if at all, changed how the kids, how they're now looking at what you do? And then are they engaging more? Are they engaging less? Are they seeing this now completely as like, wait, you're into software now? How's that changing for you?
So they've always been involved with the farm on different projects, of course, selling honey. They've always shown their honey at state and local farm shows. Each of the kids have won ribbons and best in show placing for their honey. And they get a kick out of selling honey at the local grocery store with their cap label, has their name on it. And their kids say, hey, Annabella, I bought your honey at the Giant Eagle. And it's always been a thrill for them. They go sample honey with me at different stores. They're kind of in touch with the business side. And I always remember my son Luca, we were tasting honey at a Giant Eagle, and a customer came up and said, oh, this honey's too expensive. I get my honey at Costco or Walmart. And the customer walked away, and Luca said, yeah, that customer doesn't like our honey. So, well, Luca, that's not our customer. Our customer is somebody who appreciates high quality local honey that's locally produced. They don't want our honey. They want something that we would never produce. Honey from 10 different countries and 50,000 beehives. Our artisan single source honey is unique, and our customers are unique to us. It's been a great model for the kids to learn how business works and how things sell. But this is completely different than what we've done. This is more planning, more strategy. And when I do a project, it's like a 1-year project. It works or it doesn't. We'll try doing a different product, and maybe it sells, maybe it doesn't. But this is a multi-year project with the National Science Foundation, which is world recognized for its prowess in tackling complex problems. And I've got my daughter, who's a PhD in chemistry at Pitt. So she's real interested in what we're doing. She may write a National Science Foundation grant very shortly herself for funding in chemistry research. So she gets a kick out of telling her professors at school, oh yeah, my dad's got an NSF grant, and they want to hear about it. And she brings honey into her team meetings. Hey, here's some honey from my farm where my dad works. And here's an update on the science grant that we're working on. And they really encourage each other. Like I told them they could help out with the grant on different aspects as far as managing the queen bees and getting the bees ready. And they kind of like pushed each other. And like the older ones are telling the younger ones, you got to do this. You got to get involved in this grant. It's going to be a really good career builder. This is not something, the ordinary teenager can do. So they have opportunities that most kids don't have. Certainly having a farm has certain opportunities. That's actually the main reason we have a farm. Just could easily not have a farm. I could be doing something else, but I grew up on a farm myself in New Jersey, and science was always easy for me because I saw it on the farm. I saw it in action before I even learned about it in the classroom. And I wanted my children to have that same experience. And they all have taken the science fairly well. They're not all going to be scientists, but they at least have a way to critically approach a problem from a scientific standpoint and a practical standpoint. Because sometimes, on a farm, we don't have time to solve the problem perfectly. We solve the problem to get it done in those 2 hours that you have before it gets dark or before the weather changes. There's a lot of practical aspects of having your own business and working in agriculture.
Let's go to the next section. The next section is called a decision do-over. Is there a decision do-over that you want to share with us that you'd want to have a do-over on?
It's tough, these do-overs, because you think about it, because then you'd have to go back and do everything over, and it's painful. Your life can be painful like that. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to go back to high school and try to do that over? Yeah, you could probably do a little better, but it would be painful to sit in those classes and deal with all those kids and all the emotional things that go with growing up as a teenager. So it's tough to say what a true do-over would look like for me. But I do think about things that I know how I got here. Is a lot of random things happen. It wasn't just one path. It's different. Like I said, I never imagined I'd be a beekeeper. I imagined I'd maybe be a scientist, a businessman, but not a beekeeper professionally, just because I felt like everything had been done in beekeeping. As it turns out, there's a lot of things we don't know in beekeeping. My goal was never to do one thing, but to learn something new, do something that hadn't been done before, learn something or contribute something to society. That would be the next step in knowledge. And I wasn't really too particular what that step was. That was always my goal. So when I think back what I've done, maybe I would have taken some more steps to, rather than get wrapped up in business or job or family, maybe I could have do more basic research in my life. But I've done so much, and I've got a great family and a great wife, and that was really always my goal. So to think about anything that I would have done different would have taken me further away from where I am now. So I don't think that any of my pivots, even though they're really random and I wish they had gone a different way, I can't really fault where I am now because, I'm happy with my farm and my children and my wife, and anything that would have taken me in a different direction would have taken me further away from them, I'm certain.
You did mention you could have been a scientist, a businessman, and then in something that hasn't been done. And then here you are, an NSF grant receiving scientist and a business CEO, and you're building something that everybody has told us as wow, that sounds like science fiction, but wow, if you can pull that off, I'm in. So it seems like everything that you thought you want to have a pivot in, you are there, and you also have the family and the kids.
Yeah, I mean, for those who I try to squeeze a lot in a day, and if I get 5 of the 20 things planned for a day, that's a good day. That's a busy day.
Let's go to our next segment. And this one, I think we will talk a lot more about Obi-Wan context. It's called Vision Venture. We are looking ahead in terms of, what does the vision look for your current venture? What does this next chapter or the one coming up look for you? We can take it as a 3-year, 5-year context.
Yeah. So the NSF project that we're working on for Obi-Wan Technologies is a completely different direction. It's different from the standpoint that, I've been working in agriculture for quite a while, but not in tech and not developing. Right now, we're really focused on developing this singular product that's the lure for the queen bee, to find a queen bee quicker in a beehive. So it's kind of nice to be able to really focus on that project thanks to the grant from the National Science Foundation and really drill down and concentrate on one aspect of beekeeping. And I think the project has the potential to help beekeepers all over the world. So yes, we'll find a queen bee, but in partnership with the team we put together on a grant with Pradeep and Sridhar, my co-founders, it's going to lead us in unexpected directions. And that's the thing that excites me. I mean, think of any major project that's been done in the history of humankind. There's been a singular goal that a team is working towards, but there are a lot of side directions that can be produce fruit and create new teams, new projects, and new knowledge. And I think that's the exciting thing about doing a research project like this with a product in mind, because you have a goal, but then on the way on that journey, you come across other treasures that you either pursue right away or you kind of file away for further discovery. So That's one of the great things about when you have a curious mind or a science background, you never run out of interesting projects. And this project has a 1 year timeline right now with the initial grant from the National Science Foundation, and we're working on our phase 2 grant for this project to go on for potentially several years. And certainly research in beekeeping has been done for generations, and the work that we're doing now could be continued for generations in the future. So that's part of the exciting thing about it. If we share our information and contribute to the next step, it'd be a pleasure to be a part of beekeeping history. There's a book, ABC XYZ of Beekeeping, and there's all kinds of things about beekeeping. But for some reason, they really felt it was important to list all the key figures in beekeeping that created the next logical step. Or maybe they have a large farm or a large operation in the Pacific Northwest that trained hundreds of beekeepers or sold honey to half the United States at one point, and these beekeepers all listed out. Always thought it was curious, but beekeepers are kind of natural entrepreneurs and businessmen, and there's a long history of beekeeper entrepreneur, and it's been memorialized in this encyclopedia, ABC XYZ Beekeeping. So hopefully myself, Preet, and Sridhar will find our names in that book someday if we pay attention to what we're doing and follow the next best steps.
You just come out of a discovery and then having 136 customer discussions in a span of 8 weeks. Talk us through that.
It's the I-4 program from the National Science Foundation. I kind of feel like it was a requirement of the grant. It's not strictly required, but if you want to have a good chance at a successful phase 2 application, it's highly recommended. So Preet and I, as you know, Preet, we felt it was required. So we embarked on this 2-month process and interviewed 136 beekeepers over the course of the training to learn what beekeepers' needs are. So it was a interesting proposition because Preet and I both already spent a lot of time in school. I have 2 master's degrees, including an MBA, and we've spent a lot of time in the classroom studying business. So the idea of spending more time in the classroom studying kind of the business 101 was a little bit daunting. To have homework again after 20 years without homework and classroom works. But it was interesting from the standpoint we did speak to 136 beekeepers all over the country, and I learned some things. But I think it was really important for my co-founders, Preet and Sridhar, to take this journey with me, because they heard what I'd been telling them for the last 2 years said 136 different ways. When you hear different perspectives, it really locks in what the focus is for a project. So we heard time and time again how beekeepers want to be successful managing their hives. They want to take better care of their beehives, how they're connected with other mentors and other groups, and how they support each other. Even though there aren't that many beekeepers in the country, but the beekeepers that are there are highly connected and really try to work together, because it's kind of a difficult profession to learn. I call it, there's the science of beekeeping, and there's the art of beekeeping. So beekeepers are very creative, and they freely share their creativity. So it's created a little bit of a community in of itself. And we learned along this process that we can tap into this community to help beekeepers learn from each other and help them manage their hives better with our product that will help them not only find the queen bee, but track the queen bee's genetic history better, because they'll know for certain that queen bee in the beehive is the hive that they thought was in there, and ensure that they have the best possible genetics in their beehive, and compare notes and compare information with apiaries across the country.
In one way, it almost is like a pre-sale call. It's letting people know, here's what we're building, and the measure is not so much we learn from it. I mean, that's one part of it, but it's also that should the science work out, like the science fiction gets into an actual product, then here's a group of people who might want it.
It's fun to hear beekeepers that are excited about and want to hear what we're doing, and thrilled that somebody's actually doing something to make their jobs a little easier, rather than, there's not a lot's done to help the beekeeper on a national level. So this is a treat for most beekeepers to see there's interest in beekeeping and a technology solution that may improve beekeeping.
Let's go to our next section, Joe. So the next one is called Puzzle Point. Here we discuss a question that you're probably wrestling with. It could be something that you're working to now, attention with probably not a clear answer yet. So what is something that you are working on now that you'd want to bring? And then what are the different points in which you're looking at this puzzle, like the different dimensions?
Definitely, Obi-Wan's on my mind a lot because we're at a transition period. We're transitioning from fall to winter where beekeeping kind of typically slows down. We do a little less beekeeping, and I'm thinking about how to keep our project on track experiment-wise and keep working. My wife, she's a physician, but she's a biologist, and we actually worked together in a cancer research laboratory when we met and started dating. So we talk science quite a bit. And on a daily basis, she's asking, well, what did you do on your project today? What did you do on your project today? So she wants to know what we're doing and how we're going to do it because she's anxious. So it's telling me I should be anxious and should have a plan in place. And I actually met with Streeter this week in Boston. We talked about the project, and we may have to, once we do we're going to essentially do some computer work. We're going to test our acoustic lure on different materials within the beehives because it's going to resonate different on wood versus metal and versus wax and positioning the beehives. So we're going to work on sound resonance. And this is a long time known fact in beehive that bees not only communicate by sound, but also vibration. They can feel sound through their feet the same way elephants communicate this way through their feet. So super cool, but the substrate, the material, how it's positioned in the hive, we're going to do some work in that. But then we're going to actually have to test it. So we can test with observation hives in the house or the honey house or a heated space in the barn to get some basic data, but to get some in the hive data, I may have to develop a connection with some of the many beekeepers in the southern portion of the United States, as Florida or Texas, to test it out there. So that's something. How am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? Who am I going to partner with? Those are things that are going to have to be worked out as we take this next step in product testing.
Nice. Now we have the last section, Joe. It's game break, and it's called This or That. It's a lightning round. I just give you 2 words and you get to pick one, mint of 2 phrases, and then you get to pick one. And then if you want to choose and describe why, you can, but you don't have to. Okay, first one. Hands-on work or big picture thinking?
Creep, I like both. But yeah, I of course love hands-on work, and that's what I've done quite a bit here on the farm. I like to get in there and do it. And that's, what I've taught the kids. I haven't taught them a lot of arithmetic or a lot of that sort of thing, but I've taught them practically how to approach a problem. And, we've got to move this pile of stuff from here to there. We've got this honey we've got to sell. So we got to call this many potential customers and deliver it by this date. So it's a lot of operational type work here on the farm. So it's been a good experience for them from an operations standpoint.
Okay, next one. Nature or technology?
Oh, well, of course, I'm a biologist. I love nature. But, technology, you're picking tough ones because I really love both. But yeah, I love nature.
Field notes or sensor data?
I like field notes. I like real-time observation. That's one of the kind of the missing tool most beekeepers don't have in their toolkit is a notebook. So whether that notebook's your iPhone or computer, but, I've got a notebook. I've managed 450 beehives in the summertime, and without that notebook, I'd be crippled. It's pretty low tech, but it's critical to what I do. And I think the world would be full of better beekeepers if every beekeeper used a notebook, and probably better people in general if everybody had their own notebook to keep track of notes.
I think I know the answer to the next one, but I'll hear yours. Early mornings or late evenings?
I'm an early riser. I get up early, and I do both. I work late a lot, but I feel like if I don't get that early start, then I'm guaranteed to have a late night. But if I get an early start, then I've got the option. I can either knock off on time or work a little late. So I want to have that option in case my day takes me in a type of direction, have more time to get done what I need to get done in a given day. Like for example, today I was up at 5:30 and I shot out and delivered 17 cases of honey to 4 different grocery stores. I was back at the farm getting ready to go to the feed store by 8 o'clock. And I have to deliver that early because not many people know, but they only accept deliveries at least the grocery stores here in Pittsburgh between 6 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. So you got to hit that window. And if you're not there in that window, they don't want to see or hear from you. And they only accept deliveries certain days of the week. So yeah, it really starts critical to do the kind of work I do.
Teaching beginners or working with pros?
I teach beginners because I really feel like there's not many people that know basic science or no beekeeping. So in the last 10 years, I've trained over 800 different new beekeepers from scratch. So I think in the field, I'd rather work with pros. Like if I had a job that I get done, of course I like working with pros. But I feel a responsibility to work with beginners to pass on that knowledge and help people. Because even most of my life, even now, in most rooms, I'm one of the youngest guys in the room, if you can believe it, in a group of beekeepers. And there just aren't enough beekeepers now to pass on that knowledge. So I feel like we need more beekeepers in the world from a beekeeping standpoint anyway.
Hey, Joe, thanks for taking us inside your world, both the practical and experimental sides of beekeeping and entrepreneurship. Where can people find more about Obi-Wan, your classes, and what you're doing with Country Bond Farm?
Of course, we have a great website, obi1.com. It's a great place to get some information where we're currently going on the product. We have a LinkedIn site and a YouTube channel for Obi-Wan. So those are all go-to spots to get the latest information.
Awesome. Thank you again for joining us on the Stories and Wisdom podcast, Joe. And to everyone listening, we'll be back with more conversations that explore people behind the work and with more stories and more wisdom from more people. See you soon.
Playfulness and curiosity.
This new superpower called
They're
persuasion.
the rules of the world, and then here's the rules for us.
Real deep pain.
That was a very different level of inequity.
What does rich mean?
Stories and wisdom.